Oh, there it is. Welcome to another fantasy show with Chuck Bass. I have got the man with me today. Nick Westbrook Akine had 9 touchdowns. You guys know him as the lead NFL analyst for FantasyLife. He is also the lead late night having beers guy with. Cheers, buddy. Ian, how we doing?
Great day to be great, my guy, Chuck. What are we drinking over there? Some Chardonnay?
This is a THC-infused rosé from a provider in California, and I've never had it before. So actually, well, let's sip it on camera so it's proof. We'll see.
That probably takes me a good 35 guesses to get there. If you're just like keep going, we probably could have done the whole show on that.
That might have been the move, honestly. I probably should have sent you something, and then this could be one long conversation about anything except for anybody wants to hear.
How do you feel about the THC drinks? I've done them once or twice. I'm not even a big edible guy. I love marijuana. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give that impression, but like just controlling the edibles and like the amount, like, I don't know.
It's funny. Like the bell curve that they show of like it starts here and then it comes up. It's always like a meme, right? And then it peaks and then it comes back down. I'm like on the top coming down with marijuana and THC. Okay. Like I had my time. It was all the way up here. And now I'm starting to be like, the feeling of being high and just not having my wits is becoming like scarier by the day.
It's like I'm only going to smoke a few times a day now, right?
Yes, I'm gonna pull in the mornings. Dude, we've got Semi-Fungible, who I want to shout out. Happy to have you here, bud. He said Chuck needs to be stopped. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of my whole thing. My whole thing is a cry for help. What are you sipping on? Was that the Kona Big Wave?
I got some in the fridge. These are Blue Moons right now.
Blue Moons, nice. I don't want to be pigeonholed. Right. You can't. No one wants to be like, oh, I'm going on camera. I have to have my Kona.
I like Oberon as well. I remember when I worked at NBC, I was asking for a raise one time, and I walked in there. I was like, "You see what I wear, man? Like, I'm not asking for a huge raise. My idea of having money is like paying a little bit more for beer. All right, not that there's anything wrong with Miller Lite, but I try to pay a little bit more. Like, that's what I'm striving to work for in life.
That's a good way to be. When you go out, you want to be able to order 16s and not the 12s. You just want to be able to, kind of bring it up a little bit. I get that. All right. Well, tonight we're doing a listener mailbag because, guys, we didn't want to do any work. We are 2 of the most respected and equally loved fantasy football analysts in the community. And so it just comes naturally to us. So we're going to get to some of your all's questions. And Ian, I have to get to the first one here because it was submitted within seconds of me posting the question. Said, would you kiss on air and would you take Marvin Harrison Jr. and Garrett Wilson at ADP? Now, obviously, I would kiss my wife on air if she was here. I'm guessing you would probably do the same.
I was about to say, I hope we're just talking about my wife. Yeah, wife, even dog,
Yeah.
Make that happen.
That's a good move. Has she ever been on camera while you're recording?
She's accidentally popped in the back before. So, she's the panic that I see when she realizes I'm on there. And it's like, it's okay. Like 100 people aren't even probably going to see it.
They legitimately get they make the face like people that I imagine people make when they get caught cheating. It's just this like,
right.
Yeah.
One time it was great though. This giant screen that like Sony gave me for like, they were a sponsor and stuff. And we did like one season of, content on it. Now it's just mine. Fantastic second TV. It's got wheels. I bring it down in the other room. But one time we were having like an anniversary party or something. So I had pictures of us on it. So cute and everything. Yeah. But this like ran out in a podcast. And then like my wife and I just popped up for the last like 10 minutes. And my producer was like mortified. And I was like, dude, I think it's okay. I think we're going to be okay here. Like I'm not concerned.
You're going to be fine. Sony sending out products. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out what company would
Cisco
down.
I don't think it was Sony, actually.
There we go, Cisco. All right, well, Cisco, if you're still in business, I'm open to upgrading the background a little bit. I don't know. I've noticed over the years you've had different perspectives on yours. Have you settled on one that you like?
I've just been moving around a lot. I'm finally in the house, which is pretty great. So here for the foreseeable future. But yeah, we were talking before the show, thinking about becoming a standing desk guy. I just feel like demand some respect in this world that's quickly losing it, Chuck. I'm talking about, man. So,
I get it. No, I like people drinking THC rosé on podcasts. I assure you, I know.
Yeah, I'm thinking the standing desk thing could be cool. I like, do you follow college football at all? Josh Pate?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pate State. He's got a cool setup. Not that I'm trying to rip off his. I'm making my own. Chill. Not trying to start a war here, but, I think it'd be cool.
I think that could be the move because what are the benefits, right? Obviously, the health benefits. You can piss and nobody can see while you're pissing going on. You don't need. You can wear whatever you want. Although I guess as podcasters, we were already the lower body's always been a mystery.
We already have our pants off. They're going to remain off in that case. So.
All right, so Marvin Harrison or Garrett Wilson at ADP?
Oh, that's right. We're answering questions.
We were talking about it's the fantasy guys here bringing you guys the good stuff.
Dude, I go with Garrett. I almost just said it wrong. Dude, what's changing for Marv this year? I guess that's the thing. Like we have the same coordinator. Kyler's still. I think Kyler's great. Sometimes he can't see over the line. All right, it happens time and time again. So every single like big play for Kyler, if you watch, it almost has to be this broken play, which he makes happen a ton of times. But we saw last year, 147 targets from McBride, 115 from Marv. I watched the film, Chuck. He got credited with 1 tackle avoided last year, talking about Marv. And even that was kind of a reach. It was like a weird angle type of thing. So Marv's fine. He's good even. But, man, he didn't outscore Quentin Johnston last year in PPR points per game. All right. I think Garrett Wilson is one of these guys where we are going to see the 1,500-yard explosion. DJ Moore got it out of Justin Fields once. Why can't Garrett Wilson do it? Look at their depth chart, bro. Like Josh Reynolds is starting on the Jets in the year 2025. I think it might be Van Jefferson. Someone ridiculous.
It's not great.
It is Josh Reynolds. Let's go.
Yeah. I think it's the single worst wide receiver room in the league overall. And I think Garrett Wilson is a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong. It is just, but you're right, though, the drop off from one to the other. The Marvin Harrison Jr. thing, I guess I just wonder, like, when everyone's down on a player and then they just bounce back for no reason whatsoever. That's just the kind of vibes that I'm getting right now. But I think Beers and Bowman agrees with you because he hit us with +1 respected for your take there. And
he was just, he was just a rookie, and I'm trying to keep that in mind. But the problem is, it's almost like the Caleb Williams thing. Like you would think after this relatively disappointing season, and I get it. He had the same numbers as his freaking dad. Like it wasn't a bad season. It was just relative to our ADP bullshit. But like Marv's going wide receiver 15 right now. Caleb's going like QB9, QB10. So there's really no discount being afforded. If anything, Rome, Adunze is the kind of cheaper one who we probably should be higher on, just thinking that he'll improve better. And then Trevor Lawrence would be the other one. But I'm not trying to start a war over there.
Yeah, that's been the most annoying thing I can remember in a long time is usually these guys drop significantly in ADP and then their values again. And this is like the 3rd year in a row. I feel like a guy who I should be able to get cheap, whether it is a Garrett Wilson or whether it is a Marvin Harrison or even like a DJ Moore. DJ Moore had one of the worst stretches we've seen a top 20 wide receiver have through most of the season last year, and he's bounced back to wide receiver 20. I mean, he should be going. Why? To me, I'm looking at that like, why is he not going closer to Jerry Jeudy, go closer to Romo Odunze, in my opinion, closer to Calvin Ridley? And I'm not down on him. It's just the discount. I'm using that as an example of the discount guys has been hit by inflation.
Dude, and the running backs especially. I know underdog fantasy isn't necessarily how all the home leagues are going to work and everything like that, but like we're talking about Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, like these are stud potential RB1s. I know Jacobs is more of a sure thing than Brown, not trying to go down that road, but again, that was one of the big lessons I had last year, like the Saquon going off in round 2 and these other guys. Like once you have a question about a wide receiver, and I think those questions start basically after Lab McConkey, I would say, about that wide receiver 12 spot. Once you have that question and you're looking at against a Jonathan Taylor or Devon Achane, like just as long as he stays healthy, rock solid RB1, just give me the running back.
Yeah, you know what? You brought up Saquon Barkley, and I love it because we'll give we're going to earn the listeners' trust right here for a second.
Oh no,
we sat on a version of this show a year ago, and we did our dark fantasy thoughts. And the first one we had was, and you know what? To your credit, it was a dark thought, and it was proven to be a dark thought. Is Saquon Barkley not going to make it? And you know what? Your brain, 95% of your brain was on the right track, and the other 5 is why we had that show.
And what's funny is like we actually saw the negatives come to fruition. He had his fewest fantasy points per game from receiving of his career. He got stopped at the 1-yard line and did not score 9 times, most in the league. And it just didn't matter because the dude's the best running back on the planet, and he averaged 5.9 yards per carry. So I get it. Now the thing, Chuck, like, are you buying the curse of 370?
Ooh, curse of 370. We've got Madden curse potentiality going on here. He's getting dragged online for golfing with Trump. I mean, he has not had he's not had a this guy's going to repeat kind of vibe from the offseason, but I don't see any reason why he would.
Do you know the last running back to repeat RB1 overall? A little trivia kind of spot.
Is it depending on your format? I guess it could have been Gurley, but maybe he wasn't with Saquon. So
I'm going overall RB1 PPR. And for what it's worth, that was actually Jahmyr Gibbs last year because he ended up getting the 4 touchdown week 18.
Oh, are you kidding? Wow.
Yeah, he stole it. Bastard.
Oh, like, all right, fair enough. All right, you mentioned what did you?
No, I want to hear your guess. Who do you think?
Oh, Todd Gurley is going to have to be my. I'm just going to settle on it.
Priest Holmes.
It's
been a while. And then Marshall Faulk did it right before him. So it happened in like 01, 02, 03, 04. Never seen.
Is that why he just got elected to the ESPN quarter century team? Did you see that? They did like it was Priest Holmes, LT, and somebody. It was like I couldn't believe that Priest Holmes did it.
Adrian
I get it, but I
Peterson
couldn't believe they made it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of respect it. All those guys are nasty, you know, like it is kind of weird they landed on Priest Holmes. I would have said, like, just off the cuff, AP and maybe Jamal Charles. Yeah, that's the thing. Is Priest Holmes even the best Chiefs running back in the last 25 years? I think a lot of people will say no.
It does. You know what? It's really telling you where things might be at. I'm actually going to pull it up on the screen here just because it is bearing mention here. So
Larry Johnson was a dog too after Priest Holmes. Used to throw out
you know what? Before I get Ian, this is perfect. Before I get to that'll actually segue us into one of our questions here because this is a listener mailbag, guys. Shane Biscuits wanted to know who was the first fantasy football player you can actively remember owning. Mine was CJ Anderson in 2015, and no one cares. I thought that was great. I appreciate giving us that little insight to it because I probably wouldn't care either. Ian, can you remember?
Oh yeah, Shane. CJ Anderson though, that's a pull. Yeah, it was I want to say 07, 06 maybe is my first year playing. I'm 32 years old for full clearance. First year I played with my dad. We drafted LaDainian Tomlinson first overall, and we won a championship. I've been in that league now. It's like my dad's work league, Anheuser-Busch, shout out. And I won for the third or fourth time last year. First time in like 5 or 6 years though, man. Because I started off, I became this guy works in fantasy and stuff. And I won 1 or 2 in a row or just missed a second. And I was like, I'm going to run this league like for 10 years now. These guys don't know anything. I don't lose, but I don't win the championship 6 or 7 straight years. So last year, man, it felt sweet to get that. Nothing like getting the home league dub, man. You got to earn those.
It does because you kind of have to be like, you can't really talk about it too much until you win it. Like I've been getting crushed in my home league is not what anybody wants to hear because the critics are already harsh enough out there. That kind of stuff comes out. But like that kind of fuels the fire when you win it once and then you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot beat these guys and they don't even know what they're doing. I find that to be an unfortunate part of a lot of my leagues.
Dude, that's the funny part with Justin Herzig over, best ball mania, OG champion. Dude's made all the finals. Rolling Stone comes out and they're like, this dude's the best fantasy football player in the world. And honestly, like he has a decent case. They decided that. Credit to Justin, cool dude. But like his home fantasy league then gets in on it and starts commenting on the article like, oh yeah, the best guy in the world just went 4-8 in our league last year and missed the playoffs. So again, it just goes to show you, man. Even the best.
It doesn't matter how much money you make, your boys are still going to drag you down to the bottom of the ocean. And,
as they should.
As they should indeed. And they're going to do it publicly. It doesn't get much better than that. All right, let's see here. All right, here is our ESPN quarter century team. And let's see if we can get that up on the screen here. All right, QBs, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes. I get that. Kyle Juszczyk, the only fullback. And then Priest Holmes, Christian McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry. Oh my gosh. So they did not even they didn't even get AP. They didn't get LT. No Shady McCoy, no CJ2K, no Lamar Miller. They didn't make it.
I feel like you could have left McCaffrey off. He's obviously been the man, but I don't think people would worry about it. Like you already gave Juszczyk. You got the Shanahan, backfield mention in there. Even Juszczyk's a little. Is he really the best fullback? You couldn't have gone Mike Allstott there. I know he's more.
I would have. Thank you. I would have absolutely gone Allstott. I'm not sure how or why, because the rest of the positions make sense. Moss, Julio Jones, Marvin Harrison, Calvin T.O., Justin Jefferson. I'm not going to argue with that.
God, Marvin Harrison already making this after such a mediocre rookie year.
You know what, guys? We got to go back to Marvin Harrison. He's already been expected to win the team here. Yeah, man, that's pretty tough.
No center can stand next to Jason Kelsey. Like, come on, get the dude's nuts out of your mouth. What are we doing here?
What I know, the dick sucking is pretty brutal with this list here. I love the head coaches are even a funny, and the coaches down at the bottom are even a funny one. They've mastered how to engage or how to get people to engage.
It's funny too, because like Aaron Schatz, obviously, like, you know, Football Outsider is probably one of the smartest guys in our entire.
Yeah, and Aaron's great.
Like, I'm sure I have not read the article. I'm sure he did a great job like picking these and explains it. And then they just like take that and throw it on the graphic. Dude, that's what annoyed me at PFF. Hey, PFF's cool what they do and everything, but like they would they throw your quotes on the graphic, and it's like, could you have shot me like a DM first, and we could have just maybe because you know I write a lot of words, and maybe just before you blast this off to millions of people. But
oh, God bless. That is that's equally funny as it is infuriating. That let's just out of quote context this very specific one phrase from an article. Yeah. All right. I do want to get to the chat who's showing up before I get to some more of these questions. So CR Gator 27 wants to know, who do you all like as a late round tight end? I like me some Tucker Kraft, but he might be better in real life than fantasy. I will say that I love Tucker Kraft this year. I think he's one of the best values on the board at tight end. But as far as a later round guy goes, I mean, who have you been looking at so far, you know, when we get into that very fun Dalton Schultz-y kind of area?
Dalton freaking Schultz. Do you talk about you were talking about like Marv, like everyone kind of against him, so he goes like, I've never gone harder in the paint against someone than Dalton Schultz 2 years ago.
No.
And he pulls that freaking tight end 11 finish out of his ass. Not a single person was like, what if CJ Stroud was just the man and Dalton Schultz, you know, benefits from that? Yeah, then we saw what happened last year. But David Njoku is my most drafted tight end this year overall. 35%. Like, that's irresponsible. But hey, we're going to roll with it. Just, man, back-to-back tight end 5 finishes. Judy's going to get his. But I think Flacco is going to be out there. And the thing is, like, when you're a low A-dot tight end like Njoku, like in Cleveland, they basically use their tight end as the check down option. That's why Njoku, he's always catching the ball in the flat and everything. He's a beast after the catch. So even Shador, Dylan Gabriel, I really hope not Kenny Pickett. But if any of these guys take over, like, there's a reason the old adage, you know, has come around, like a tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend. So we saw what he did with Flacco. We saw Flacco again last year. You know, how about the Colts guys, Josh Downs, shout out. So I just think the joke of going tight end 12 is just why. I don't think Harold Fannon's going to be like a number 2 big slot more than anything. I don't think he's going to take a single rep away from Njoku. And I don't know, I was reading an athletic article. It doesn't even sound like things are going that great for Fannin right now, whatever that's worth, you know, non-pad June TAs. But I'd say Njoku for like, you know, traditional one tight end leagues where you're not really too worried about it. If we want to go deep, man, I can't stop drafting Mike Gesicki. This is like the 10th straight year. But
all right. So we're staying in Cleveland. We're staying in Ohio for these picks.
Yeah, geez, I didn't realize that. Go Bucks.
Get a little Gesicki, get a little Njoku. So is this just kind of – so with Gesicki, are you envisioning a world where he's just a lot better with Burrow in year 2? And I mean as far as like – I guess I should ask you, are you picturing like potential top 12 season? Are you picturing like just a return on investment?
He's tight end 23, so I just think we'll get a couple spike weeks. Like, I'm not drafting him as my one tight end. That's why I was saying like Njoku for home league purposes. But if you do need a couple, you know, I just think that we saw last year he spiked 3 out of 5 games when T. Higgins was out, and just who was there? Eric All, unfortunately, another setback with his knee. He's not going to play his entire year. They paid him, man. And like when I'm just at that point in the draft, I do think the money is a factor. Like that's why I've been drafting a good amount of Juwan Johnson too. Like he's not going to sit on the bench. So if you got a guy in this system with Joe Burrow going to throw for 5,000 yards, their defense can't stop a nosebleed. I just think he's got outs in terms of if any of the wide receivers go down, then he's going to get a step up and roll. And just with the money, with no Eric All, with him second year, I think that just even if Chase and Higgins stay healthy, I think he finishes top 16, top 15, something like that. And then if one of them do go down for a period of time, that's where we can get the tight end one business.
Yeah, I like that, especially with them probably for the first time in maybe 3 or 4 years actually having momentum going into the week 1 as opposed to somebody's hurt, somebody's not signed, somebody's unhappy with their contract. The offensive line feels as good as it has in a while. It does just feel like maybe that Julius Thomas 2013, 2014, you know, just like somebody busting on the scene because the quarterback is going to throw for 5,200 yards and everybody in the offense can cook. Like these seasons happen every now and then.
Like Gesicki only had 2 touchdowns last year. Caught 65 balls for 665. I mean, if we just get a little bit of a spike, he's a sick he's a sick receiver. He is a receiver, more or less. He's 29 years old. I got the Pro Football Reference page up right now, Chuck. I can confirm it.
Got it. Does he have a fun nickname?
I don't think so. I actually.
Oh, damn. That's what I always like to check the top because it'll have, like the lobster or something like that. It'll just be like a random nickname.
I will say, though, pull up his Pro Football Reference page. His look is like, I'm better than you. I don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not cool. I'm drafting you. Like, I'm putting my money behind you, and that's how you're going to look at me right now for Football Reference.
Dude, there's just nothing better than having the computer autofill Mike Gesicki Pro Football Reference because you've already typed it so many times this year. That's a special kind of.
Dude, so this is kind of crazy. Probably bad move on my part, but I tweeted. I was like, I went to go to my bank. I typed in and Chase Brown auto-populated it, Pro Football Reference, because I could check out Chase Brown's page more than I go to my bank account, I guess. I got freaking hacked or whatever. They had to shut down like my credit card like 5 days later. So all right, no more bank account jokes on Twitter. Point taken.
Damn. Oh my god.
Look at that look. Come on.
Yeah, he's kind of got like early Pat Tillman vibes going on right there. I think that there could maybe be something going. I don't know. He's focused and committed for the first time in a while.
I was about to say, it looks like he thinks he's better than you, but you know what? If I talk to him for 30 seconds, it might be like, fuck it. This guy is so much better than me.
He's actually, I get why all the girls are handing me their coats while they talk to him.
But dude, like people go nuts over these rookie athletic tight ends. God forbid you actually have one of the most athletic tight ends that we've had now catching passes from Joe Burrow. I don't know. Sounds pretty cool. If Mike Gesicki was a rookie in Cincinnati, he'd be going 50 picks earlier.
Yeah. And will he not be the first tight end to start multiple seasons for them or consecutive seasons for them? And maybe like since Burrow's been the quarterback, don't quote me on that, but it feels right.
First meaningful one, right? I mean,
meaningful. Thank you. That's a pro guy. This is a pro.
Since Eifert, they haven't really had one. I don't think. Let's not forget.
Oh, Eifert. Talk about who's I was playing a long time ago, but as far as guys that I'll never forget owning, Eifert in 2015 or 16, whatever it was, is definitely one of them.
My one of my buddies in college went to high school with Eifert, and he was telling a story when we were like sophomores or something. He goes, "Yes, we go over to Ty's," and I was like, "Who is Ty?" He's like, "Tyler Eifert." And I was like, "Shut the fuck up, dude! Like, you're not calling Tyler Eifert Ty. Come on."
Big Ty's having the boys over tonight for wings. Oh, that's great.
He was also actually boys with Zach Martin, and I'm a Cowboys fan, even though we got new era sponsorship, so I wear hats everywhere. When the Cowboys drafted Zach Martin, bro, and I'm in college, they drafted Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel, and I was just such a Johnny football guy because he was the man. All right, sorry for partying.
Everybody wanted Johnny. Come on,
for partying.
This revisionist history that everybody didn't want Johnny is it's bullshit if you ask me. Nobody did ask me.
And this is why we need like 2 categories for off the field problems. You have dudes who blew up their own career from partying and being an idiot like Johnny, and then you have like actual pieces of shit. Anyway, my buddy has Zach Martin's phone number somehow, and he hands me the phone at like midnight during a party, and I'm just like, God damn it, we could have had Johnny. We could have had Johnny to the Hall of Fame guard that was one of the best linemen in Cowboys history.
You legitimately might have inspired his entire career, though, because these guys, they're wired differently. They work off of motivation. They remember that one guy who said, "I wish we got fucking Johnny on the phone."
Hall of Fame speech in 4 or 5 years. It all started.
It all started with this asshole. All right, you mentioned. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out. Somebody asked a great question, which ties right into this. You talked about we've got some people who were party animals, and then some not great people, right?
Yeah.
NFL Freebird wants to know NFL player not named Watson or Tucker to most likely be on Epstein Island. Now, this is a great question, and I thought it was going to be our closer, but it tied into the conversation too well. So I'll give you a second to think about this if you want, because my answer to this, yeah, definitely a left fielder. My answer to this is somebody who would honestly, like a quarterback who truly had no idea where he was. He was just like with it, like going along for the ride, wanted to have some beers on the beach.
Maybe has a celebrity wife.
Yeah, maybe that could be it. Maybe like a hat.
Go ahead.
No, please. You got this.
Maybe, like you said, maybe he didn't want to be there, but he's a polite guy. Some might even say a little weird in his actions, but he goes with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
He would take the opportunity to get the sort of glamour IG shots that come with an opportunity like this. He's trying to rub elbows with people.
All right, are you gonna name drop it or am I?
Dangerous.
Yes. All right,
Russell
that feels
Wilson.
good.
He's been there.
That feels so good. Oh my gosh, the one guy who legitimately would be there, like trying to do good and network and maybe pass out some Subway sandwiches. I don't know if it gets much.
So we're saying most likely, but like, would Russ also just be like the single out of every single player in the NFL? Would he be the funniest one to end up on the Epstein list?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you talk about like the pictures that we already get of him, whether it's him and like with the leather jacket on or this. I mean, he is by far the winner of this question. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, Jameis would be fun, but I think Russ's is better. Jameis would be like, yeah, okay.
Dude, doing the walk on the beach. Oh my gosh, that would actually. Jameis is pretty good. I put Kirk Cousins would be a good one.
Yeah.
Dude,
that headline that you see with Cousins every now and again when they ask him what he thought about having a gay teammate, and he was like, no one's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah. I miss him. This is the first year since 2010 that we're not going to get at least one of Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, and Andy Dalton won't be starting.
No,
it's the end of an era.
No, I have I swear to God, it's actually a good dynasty team, but we are so bad at QB, and I traded for Bryce Young last year. That's how sad we were. I thought we're okay now. We're okay. Like, it's looking good. It looked horrible, for the first couple of weeks. And I traded for him, and he got benched, and Andy Dalton was on waivers, bro. And I was just like, all right, $100, full budget. Andy Dalton, we're doing this. I'm just not living life without a QB in Dynasty Land. They end up being okay. So.
And now look at you. You've got a sponsored television in the background, sponsored hat on your head. I'm pretty sure the decision has worked out well.
Second place Dynasty finish. Shout out Justin Boone. That's why he got the Yahoo job and I didn't,
That, what? Second place in Dynasty means more than probably just about any other league because it's years of work that goes into that second, not just some random redraft. Who knows what happened? It's a climb.
Have you done the guillotine leagues?
I love the guillotine leagues, and I'm surprised they're not more popular, at least in like the general mainstream content cycle, because they're some of my favorite ones.
Last year is my first year doing them, man. And just everything's perfect because the sweat is so heightened every week. You can finish 13 out of 14 teams, and you're like, fuck yeah. Bad week, but I'm the man, and I was strong enough to overcome. And then when you lose, that sucks, but you're done.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. It's like it's what you wish you could do in redraft when your team sucks by like week 5, and you're like, boy, I really wish I could just pull the cord and I'm out of here right now. And you're right, dude. You bring up a good point. The guillotine leagues are the only leagues where you're actually watching other people's matchups to see who, like, is he going to get eliminated? Is he going to get cut? Like, there's much more draw to that, to the overall league action.
The Monday night sweats are nuts. Yeah, because this is so much easier to follow. You got that cut line, and then crazy stuff starts happening. It's like, oh my God, no. And the waiver wires are lit, dude. Like, I'm freaking, oh God. I'm trying to, I don't know. I always try to go down in leagues, and then like we get some credits or someone I like asked me. I think last year I was in around 30 redraft leagues where we had to do this shit. And my one hack that was nice this year is I started doing all my waiver wire stuff and then setting lineups on Thursday on the treadmill. So I was.
Oh, nice. Standing desk, treadmill. This guy's going to be ripped.
I was able to do that. And then because before I was hating it because it was like my free time. I had to start doing this stuff and I just really wouldn't do a great job with it. So now that I mixed in the gym, I was like, all right, we're here. Like, let's freaking do it. But dude, like you go through these higher stakes dynasty leagues where you got, or not even dynasty leagues, just regular FFPC stuff. And you got 15, 20 people on the squad. Everyone's being super active. I want Kenneth Gainwell and I want these guys. You're in guillotine. It's like CeeDee Lamb's on the waiver wire. Let's go.
Yeah, I actually get excited. Don't you love those leagues where you look at a Kenneth Gainwell and you're like, he could probably help me, maybe, but like, fuck this. I don't even want to. I'm like, I don't even want to look at the screen anymore. I care so little about how this actually goes.
Kenneth Gainwell, Steelers, not going to play, but he was another example. It's funny because when he played the Steelers, he had these two just nasty runs. I want to go back. It'd be such a hard study. I don't even know how to start, but there's got to be a correlation to guys switching teams and the team they signed with. They like just had a really good game against them. Yeah, so often, dude.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the revenge game?
Not even the revenge game. I'm saying like Kenneth Gainwell was on the Eagles. He had a great game against the Steelers, and the Steelers signed him in the offseason. Because the more I've really tried to give coaches the benefit of the doubt, and like schematically and stuff, you know, I was they're gonna forget more than I ever knew and all this. But then you read stuff like Hayden Wings pointed out, Nathaniel Hackett was like, yeah, we didn't know Breece Hall was a good receiver until like mid-season or something. So you just hear stuff like that, and then the Urban Meyer, like, you guys see us 99 dude in the Rams, like dude can play out here. So I really do wonder what the overall coach like knowledge of the rest of the league is, because they have so many things to worry about that. I don't know. Mike Tomlin's like, oh yeah, 14 from Philly, boy can play.
Yeah, that's a good point. As far as like these CEO types who kind of like know what they need, what they literally know second by second what they need to be doing as a head coach. And that's where a lot of these other guys who maybe they were good scheme wise, or maybe they were creative in how they use personnel, everything, they kind of fall flat because like that's all they know. And they don't know how to like run, like push the ship forward.
Yeah. I mean, that was the big thing in Columbus here. Go Buckeyes, where Ryan Day was a great OC and everything. But then he, when he took over for Urban, they'd have these brutal game management problems, or like he just wouldn't. And so this last year, he finally, for the first time, gave up play calling, brought in Chip Kelly, and then kind of took that CEO role. Apparently, after they lost to Oregon, called out the defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, and then he ended up leaving after the year. So I don't know, man, but I do think that if you can just be that, you know, John Harbaugh type, special teams coaches seem to have a pretty good track record.
I mean, nobody has to manage more. Nobody has to manage more players than the special teams coach.
Dude, everyone loves a special teams coach. Like, it's just always one of the coolest guys out there, man. I know in high school, Coach Tucker, shout out. I mean, it was because, you know, you're just kind of catching punch. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So we've had, I think what that culminates in this point, and then you brought up something that can transition us to our next question. So Ryan Day's been at Ohio State since 2017, but head coach 2019. So his head was called, if I'm not mistaken, over the last 2 seasons to be fired, right?
Yeah.
And with how quickly coaches get fired in the NFL, like maybe these guys who could eventually become CEO types just don't get the chance to be able to in that like year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, when they kind of go for like, that's when they go from, okay, we'll have a puncher's chance every year to like, this is a franchise.
Yeah. Dude, I see why Chip Kelly went from being UCLA head coach. He's like, just let me coach football. Let me just be an offensive coordinator. That's why, like, dude, can you imagine trying to recruit? It just sounds like the worst thing ever. Like the amount of hours and just texts and phone calls.
I can't even get people I know that are contractually obligated to stay with me for life to commit to decisions that I want to have them do and lay out responsibilities. So I
look at my phone at night and I'm like 30 new messages in the group, man. All right. I guess I gotta lock in here and catch up. I mean, dude, like I feel like professional or high school, but like that recruiting factor in college, like when are you done? You're never done. There's never, and I know you can always watch more film in high school and NFL and work on the game plan and all that. But like truly with recruiting, you can always be doing something. And that would just drive me mad, man. That's why coaches freaking, you know, life sounds like it's horrible. You can do a great job. And then the guy above you gets fired. So you get fired.
Oh, that's why these guys are sleeping in their office 18, 19 hours or in the office for 18, 19 hours and sleeping on their couch. And I love them for it.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. All right. We have a fun one here, because it's kind of a funky question, but it's a great one. So I got to give it up to Cantaloupe here. Jordan Lube.
Shout out.
He said, if I can get on the screen here, which veteran will make the 5th year leap? It's a great question. So that's going to be
where's Dr. Jesse? Can we bring him in?
Yes, literally Jimmy. Yeah, I've got him on standby, actually.
Okay, that would be the funniest thing if you made him sit here for 33 minutes.
Oh, dude.
All right, Jesse, we're in.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot to get to your question here. We'll have you back. It'll be like the Matt Damon, Jimmy Kimmel thing where, sorry, we ran out of time. So 2021 draft class, that leaves us guys going into their 5th year that haven't broken out. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. So that gives us Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer.
He kind of broke out last year. Breakout's it was funny. We were about to record a FantasyLife show, and me and the producer were kind of saying how breakout's this vague term. And then my guy Dwayne McFarland's like, No, a breakout is when someone scores 16.5 PPR points per game in their second year later. It was just like, oh man, you have just defined this. Okay, like fair enough. I thought it was like sleeper. It was kind of it's this vague, provocative term that no one really knows. And Dwayne,
that's such a home run from him too. I love that. What
So
like 16.2 also, like not even a 16. Like get down to the decimal point and hit us with the exact math. That's hilarious.
All right, 2021 NFL draft listing. So Bateman had a nice year last year, but that's probably like I think he could do it again. But that's kind of what you need. He's not gonna unless Zay gets hurt or something like that. And even if he does, dude, that was the most depressing because I've wanted to draft Zay Flowers. I really think he's so much more than this gadget guy. He can work downfield and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like going back, and I think the best year Ravens wide receivers had with Lamar is like wide receiver 23. And that was actually kind of with Tyler Huntley. Shout out Pro Bowl. So it's not nothing against Zay Flowers, just the offense. They have 2 tight ends they love. They actually brought in D-Hop, maybe a little bit healthier after that knee issue. Bateman, they're just going to run the piss out of the ball. So Chase Waddle to.
That's a really, I'll just give a Bateman thought for a second. I did really think that, you know, between him, they picked up his option and he was the first Ravens wide receiver ever to have his option picked up. And then they signed him to an extension. And I think he was the first extension they ever signed either. So I have to wonder, like, did he show a connection with Lamar that we expected to have earlier? And then is that where this offense, like if they have another gear to go to, which they've shown in every year under Monken, like they can add a little something to the game. While I think Zay Flowers is the wide receiver 1 there pretty comfortably, could Bateman push into that like Jameson Williams almost esque range?
I think it's possible, man. Again, it's just the difference in offenses. I think it's going to hurt them there. But I guess you're right. The Detroit, I mean, they're pretty run heavy as well. And this thing, honestly, pretty similar with JMO. We're like year 1 for Rashad, you know, he pulls his groin week 9. Year 2, he has the Liz Frank in week 8 and he has to have surgery. You know, year 3, he has the hamstring pull in week 3. And all of a sudden that's lingering over it. He finally got this run of good health and look what happened. Because I mean, there's a reason why you pop on, you know, watch the film, people. Don't want to be that guy, but seriously, like Bateman was out there routing dudes up even the first couple of years of his career, just really could not stay healthy. So no, I think a JMO year is certainly on the table. There's a handful of guys in this list though. Nico Collins already broke out. Like,
dude, this list is insane.
Hell of a draft.
Remembering that Nico Collins and Amon-Ra St. Brown are picks are the 25th. Oh my God. I see. This is, you know what? This is the THC one.
We've reached that point. 36 minutes. That's about right.
It checks in. Nico Collins, wide receiver 14, Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 17. I mean, this is a pretty damn legendary class.
But I mean, Nico, I've been drafted. He's my wide receiver 4 this year, honestly. I got him ahead of Neighbors, BTJ. I got him ahead of Puka, all these guys. I like the reason people, Nico's one of those guys people just go, he's going to miss some time. It's like, is he? What if he doesn't? He could legit be the wide receiver 1, man.
Isn't that the funniest thing that you hear multiple times a day, almost every day? Yeah, he's going to miss some time. Like, it's one of the all-timers.
And I admit, someone like CMC and HN, obviously they are more injury prone, quote unquote, than other guys. But it's not this, you either are 100%, 10 out of 10, or you're just good and you're 0 out of 0. So I just think we overweight the true difference between these guys so much. But yeah, dude, even it's funny that all 3 of these guys well, I guess it makes sense because they were all free agency because they were in this class. That's the Blue Moons talking now. But okay, one of the things I've been following like this year, and one I mentioned before, tight ends. I like following guys that actually making money at the end of drafts. There's only 4. Let me see if I can remember them. There's 3 or 4 wide receivers going like outside pick 150 that are actually making 10 million plus per year. Tutu, Josh Palmer, Diami Brown, and Darius Slayton are those 4 guys. I've been drafting Slayton more than anyone, but yeah, man, when I get to that point in drafts, it's like Palmer and Diami Brown, especially, like we're supposed to like the not Tampa Bay. We're supposed to like on the Jacksonville offense, Duval. Yep. So Diami's going to be one of those guys. If Travis Hunter doesn't play a ton on offense or plays a little bit less, guess who's the number 2 receiver there? It's Diami. And then Josh Palmer, like they gave him 3 years, 34, 35 million. Maybe it was like 29, but it was still a good number. And he fits that offense well. Like he's going to be that Amari Cooper role. It's going to be Palmer, Keon, and then Shakur. So we'll see, you know, Elijah Curtis behind them. But those guys, where they go, man, you just see some random dudes, you know, the 2nd, 3rd round wide receiver who we've spent March and April talking about. So people feel obligated to keep drafting them and all that. So there's some names in this class.
There are, and you can tell all those guys that you talked about, those teams have been desperate for what they signed that person to do for several years now, it feels like. And so talk about like not just being lost in the shuffle, but like, hey, we brought you in to do this specifically because our team's either been lacking this or injury plagued, or the coaches just not knowing how to, like maximize position. So I love that. There's a guy in this class that I'm going to allow us to transition into a question here, and we'll get a little 1, 2, 3, 4. It is right here. Trip W305 wants to know keeper league pick 2: Olave, Addison, Waddle, and Judy. So Waddle's in this class, and that's who got me thinking about this question, because he had one of the worst years you're going to see from a guy drafted in the first 3 rounds for multiple reasons. Of course, there's not just a talent thing, but who do you like from this group just for 2025?
Just for 2025, we got that. Sounds like Addison could be suspended like 3 games start of the season. If we leave that out of it, I still don't think I pick him. I'm going to say Judy and Waddle, but it's funny, man. These dudes literally, if you look at current ADP, I mean, they're probably between wide receiver 32 and 38. So like literally, I hate this. I hate using this cop out, but I'm going to use it. I don't think there's like a wrong answer. If you want to pick the 2 guys I didn't pick, I'm not going to call you crazy type of situation. I think Olave is the best wide receiver on that list, but when you're catching passes from God knows who, man, that's rough. So I'll go with Judy and Waddle. I think I might have changed it.
And you're right. I mean, these guys are all so close in ADP, especially when you look at drafts. So I guess that's probably why he's coming to us for the advice.
Of course.
For this year coming up, I'd probably go Olave and Judy. But like you said, I mean, all 4 of these guys are probably their medium outcome is probably that they finish within like 35 points of each other or something like that. So then you're talking about like personal preference. Floor or ceiling wise, I think Olave and Waddle have potential. But I mean, I think I'm just a little tired of investing myself personally in these offenses until they give me good reason not to.
The Waddle one's just wild, man. And he's one of my most drafted receivers this offseason, so I'm just kind of buying him. But I like to be able to somewhat explain why something went south. Like Sam Laporta last year. Was it really the August hamstring? Was it that early season ankle that slowed him down? I'm not really sure. But when I say that, it makes my simple brain be like, yeah, okay. He got better.
Bang, moving on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, it's like, what happened, dude? Because Tua came back, and Tyreek actually got back to being wide receiver 24 with Tua. As far as we know, which could very well be not much. We see NFL teams fail to report injuries all the time, but Waddle didn't suffer anything until like a knee injury in week 14 or week 15 last year. It wasn't like we were watching games. It's like, oh man, there's Jalen Waddle wide open deep again. They just can't put it on him. But at the same time, 3 years before that, he was a dog, 1,000 yards each time. You look at the list of guys who have done that, and it's one absolute stud after another. So I will say the people that are like just out on Tyreek Hill, whether it's vibes, whether it's age, whether it's him falling off, like if you're out on Tyreek, man, you better be on Waddle.
It's a funky one because the lesson to not take away from last year is really that Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane need to be used like this as much as they were used. It was almost like they couldn't figure anything else out, but they had one of their worst seasons they've had in a little while. And so if they do that again this year, to me, it feels like the coaching staff being like, hey, we haven't learned our lesson, so let's get fired. Let's just keep doing this.
I think it's like when Tyler Higbee has had those good 6-game stretches at the end of like the worst Rams seasons. Sean McVay's like, Jesus, get me home to my hot wife. Just Tyler Higbee, take every ball you want, man. Like, we're good. Cooper Kupp's out of the picture. Tyreek's not playing well. Waddle's hurt. So that's what it felt like to me, too. And I think Mike McDaniel's a smart dude. Still, I don't think you go into the season, particularly Jonnu. And look, I love drafting Jonnu last year, man. Don't ask me about everyone else I love drafting, all right? But I did love drafting Jonnu. And
as you should have.
He's been a yak beast, but even my, great scenario. Like you asked me if you would have asked me last year, all right, how can Jonnu Smith boom? I'd be like, well, maybe he takes that job. He gets 70 targets and he's really good after the catch. So he just makes the most out of them in a high scoring offense. I didn't think he'd catch more balls than the rest of the dudes on the team combined. So yeah, man. I mean, look, Achane's someone I'm still drafting because just that backfield's pretty open too. I'm drafting Jalen Wright as well. I think the Dolphins, just backfield we've seen over the years can be very, very fantasy friendly and everything, but Jonnu, he's starting to fall now with some of this Arthur Smith trade talk. But for me, after Kittle, obviously McBride and Bowers ahead of him. But after Kittle, it's like not saying you can't feel better about Sam Laporta and these other guys, but like seeing Jonnu at tight end 6, man, like no, if he was tight end 12, tight end 13 with Njoku and the rookie, it's like, okay, fine. But tight end 6 is tough.
Yeah. And I mean, like, being able to get Mark Andrews after some of these guys, is like that continues to be my bar. I'm like, wow, he's going after Kelsey. He's going after Jonnu. He's going after Ingram. I'm like, all right. I mean, I appreciate you guys giving us that free money this early in the year.
I'm drafting a lot of Ingram. That one feels like it could be a bad idea.
No, well, it's like it's like the big. I think it's the most volatile option we have going forward in the draft this year, especially for where he's going. I want to shout out the chat real quick. Actually, before I get to that one, Jackie Moon said no Duke Johnson. So he's got to be referring to that ESPN list.
Yeah,
Jackie, I'm sorry I missed it. No Duke Johnson is wild. These guys get
shout out Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie knows.
I haven't seen enough semi-pro memes out of you, Chuck.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just go through a phase. That ends up happening. You know, like you watch a movie or in your show, and because this is what we do, like especially you, because you post the stuff just like I do. I look at it, I'm like, oh, this would be a great. This is 7 tweets out of this scene alone. Like I know this is just gonna roll. Like when you posted that Workaholics, and I was just like, man, that's just exactly what I'm talking about right there.
Succession was one of my favorite shows doing that. Like every episode, there'd be some where I almost had to be like, yo, just enjoy the show. Like let it come to you, man. Like, it's gonna be there.
Something. It does sound like it's something you would say in a draft or a trade talk or talking with somebody online. Like, and the further that show gets out of the consciousness, the harder that's going to be. So I think it's our responsibility to keep it going strong.
I just, cause I like, especially off season when, you know, my 2-hour article takes 3 or 4, like it's not a big deal. I like to put TV on in the background instead of music. So I've been watching, I was redoing Peaky Blinders, and then, you know, I was like, this is kind of a lot at 9:30 in the morning sometimes. So I decided to put that one aside. I was going through a lot of Sunny, and then Workaholics is on the list. But recently, I watched The League again, which is fantastic. Last season, but that's the case for a lot of shows. And then I just put on Blue Mountain State today. What a classic.
Oh my gosh. So you just walked us through a lot of different levels of male testosterone. Succession to Workaholics to It's Always Sunny, all the way up through Blue Mountain State and The League.
Oh, speaking of male, testosterone, Matthew shouted out Tires. I just finished season 1. Honestly, I watched the first 2 episodes, and I like Shane Gillis. I think he's hilarious. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, I don't know about this, but I was like, you know what? There's a lot of shows you don't like the first couple. I'm in on the end. I will say this: Steven Gerber, dude. Like it's almost like he's funny because you can't believe he's like an actor on a TV show.
It does feel like a prank still, even to this minute. Like it does feel like whatever's going through. And I do have to shout that out. The first, like you watch those early episodes and you're like, okay, I see where they're going. I would just like them to get there a little quicker. And they get there really, really damn quick. So
excited for season 2.
Yeah, it's season 2 rocks. The Harry Snowman said, what's up, people? We've got the chat coming in. Chat is really popping in. He's talking about Miami situation, all that stuff. But guys, we have to get to one of our questions here. And let's go a little deep. Jamie Taco FF wanted to know, what's your biggest pet peeve from fantasy content?
Threads.
Are you talking about like guys that'll give you 16% of players that'll give you an 85% chance of winning 21% of your leagues?
Threads have been around for a long time. It's not like this just became something we can do in the last 2 years. They've been around, and if you don't want to pay for Twitter, sure, and you don't, you can't write everything in one tweet, like by all means, some things are better off doing it, but just 5 breakout players you need to have this year. And it's like, you could do this in one tweet. Like it's almost backwards. It's like, I think that, oh God, as I'm drunk right now, Einstein had a quote where he's like, make everything as simple as possible, but no simpler. And we're just doing the opposite of that. We're making everything as long as possible and as many tweets as possible. Half those tweets are 10 or 15 words out here. And it's like, can we not just make our point? I'm down to give evidence. That's not even what they're doing. It's just literally, and dude, there's something I think going on conspiracy hat time, like with the threads and how they work in the algorithm, whatever. Cause like I've made joke, probably not even funny, but like, making fun of that exact thing. 30 breakout players you should watch. And like it's nothing. And it gets 400 bookmarks. It's like, who is actually bookmarking this right now? because
Oh,
I
they're
know when I
dying to come
actually
back.
have good shit, like it's not even coming close. So I really think there's something weird, inflated engagement with the threads. And I wouldn't be shocked. Let me tell you what, Chuck Bass, I wouldn't be shocked if in a couple years we found out about this. I think it might go straight up into the White House, man.
Oh my gosh. I think Joe Biden might have been involved.
Hey, I'm not saying that, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right.
You know what? You know what? But 400 bookmarks for you, it makes sense. Like heavy lies the crown. They're coming for it. They want it.
I just talked about getting my bank account hacked. Now I'm shouting out the White House on a podcast. So
Well, we've got different ways that we can go about that. You know what? Let's ride this train a little bit because this one I think you could be very good for this one as well. And it is a little serious, but he wrote me anonymously. Anonymous. I've had a fantasy football podcast for 2 years now, and I can't seem to break through despite having many guests on that would be considered reputable. When does the tipping point come? Does it come at all? Now, it's definitely a change of pace question for a couple of inebriated fellas, but I do think it's an interesting one. And I'm interested that he wrote it anonymously because it makes me wonder if I know this person or if maybe they're in the orbit, but they feel like they're not getting to that next gear. What do you think about this bad boy?
It's tough, man. Look, I'll say this: like when I was at PFF and I was on the PFF Fantasy podcast, like it was doing fantastic numbers and everything. Now I'm with Dwayne again, FantasyLife, and I'll tell you what: like the numbers aren't as good as they were at PFF. Was that because I was doing it during COVID when the podcasts were booming, and now am I just a washed individual who's not funny anymore? You know, there's a lot of different options here, so I get it. But dude, I would just say, and again, that sort of thing. And I love everyone in the comments. Appreciate you guys watching this, but like you can drive yourself crazy staring at these numbers, looking at the downloads, seeing what people are saying about all this stuff. And, you know, yeah, you'll get some good criticism sometime. The comments are, hey, there are people listening to your show as well. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be reading those, but like, you know, as well as I do, man, like for every 99 people are like, oh, you're great. I enjoy your stuff. Like you're funny, this and that. One person says something mean to you and God forbid it's true. And then you're like, man, that sticks with you for so long. So I would just say, man, the better you can just focus on that content. If your content is just actively doing, you know, live streams, engaging with people, then by all means, but the more you can just almost block out the numbers and then focus on the content and just let that come to you, man, that would just be my bet. Cause I would say I'm most productive when I just do that. Cause you know, it's easy. You open on Twitter and you start scrolling, and you're like, oh man, look at all this great stuff people are doing. Like, why am I not doing that? It's like, well, I'm not doing that because I'm reading about other people doing it right now. I need to sit down and actually do something myself. So it's tough. 2 years, you know, that's a hell of a commitment. I know a lot of people ask me this question and they haven't even started something yet. So I would say keep going, man, and just make sure you're having some level of fun and you're enjoying yourself. Because hey, it could be a situation where you don't get huge. I don't know. You know, where's that bar? You know, if you Chuck, like, I don't know, man. I don't know if ESPN's calling us tomorrow. Like you can always find someone else richer. You can always find someone out with a better job, man. I just try to take comfort in what you're doing, try to provide a value. Last thing would just be BDG, Nick, what's his last name? Erklon, something.
For what?
You know, I'm talking about the BDGE guy, Nick, whatever.
Oh yeah. Big dog gotta eat.
Yeah, big dog gotta eat. Nick, he's the man. He always sends like Nick Ercolano. I haven't actually talked. He's really good with like actually creating content stuff. And he's always said like, find a niche that people like and like don't be afraid to go like even just deeper on that one singular thing. So if you are trying to be like all football all the time, respond to everything, okay, but just realize you're gonna have to be really timely with all that. Otherwise the way shit works, it's not gonna be there. So focus as much as possible, but you know, live life.
Man, you said so much there that was beautiful, and I agree with so much of it. And you said so many, my brain went so many different ways. I'll never forgive Nick because in 2019 he said to draft Damian Williams over Aaron Jones, and I listened to him, and that was tough, guys. I'll be honest. I was going through a dark place during that time.
Here's this guy who's doing some good, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this face,
really, honestly, it's one thing I always think about whenever anybody brings him up, even though he is doing so much work. So I agree with that. Another thing too, I'll say to this is that you said that I loved is maybe temper your expectations for what this can be. And then if it takes off on a natural plane, go from there. Because I think a lot of people, I think, get into this because they think they can do what the people they're watching does better than them. It's like The Departed, right? Like
Yeah.
Who thinks they can do what you do better than you? It's like that line. And I think that a lot of people, maybe 2 years in, they don't realize, or if they haven't yet, how much more goes into the job, or how much more early on you have to do, how much networking you have to do, how much content you have to put out, and how good the content actually does have to be. Like, nobody's just starting channels without doing all that work and getting 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 followers. Like, it is legitimately pure nonstop full throttle all the time.
Dude, it's that Dunning-Kruger effect, like knowledge curve.
You don't know what you don't know.
You're like, oh, and the same thing with me, man. When I first got into it, I read so many articles.
Clap for the Dunning-Kruger effect. That's a great poll right there. That's fantastic stuff.
Shout out. But when I got started, that's exactly. I used to read Bleacher Report all the time. So I can do this shit. Like, come on. And then
everybody does. And then, you can, if you're listening, you can, by the way.
And honestly, having that confidence does help in a job where you have to look into a camera and say shit and try to act like you know what you're talking about. But man, you really do realize after a couple of years, you're like, oh man, I have a lot to learn right here. There's dudes that know what I know, but they've been doing it for 20 years longer. So, like anything, work hard and all that. But no, I think you're spot on, man.
Yeah, that's and you know what? Keep grinding, because guys, people are stopping doing podcasts as quickly as other people are starting them. So if you have the free time, the spare time, and you're personable, and you're able to, you have cash in your wallet and you can pay people quickly, you're gonna do fine. You're gonna do just fine.
I will say, I don't think just like bringing on a random guest is really gonna get you there.
Yeah, it's if your goal is to just become, it's a camaraderie, that's a good goal. But if you're like, this will get me eyes and this will get me looks, that's something I had to learn. I was actually surprised it worked that way, but it does.
Again, not saying you can't have guests on. Like, it's cool to talk to everyone, but it just can't. How's that going to be your identity unless you're Joe Rogan? Like, shout out one guy, one guy got it, But just again, trying to find a football, like something that people are going to go like YouTube and, oh, okay, this guy's talking about a topic I'm interested in. Like, you're going to get a handful of people who like the guest, sure, but I don't do them instead.
All right, this is a fun one here. Before we're getting up close to an hour, so we'll do one or two more. And if the chat's got any questions, we'll be sure to get to those. Bucks in 4 wants to know first coach fired and worst new head coach. So there's a lot of options here, ranging from Vrabel to Brian Schottenheimer to Liam Cohen to Kellen Moore. Anybody jump out at this list to you?
Man, as a sad Cowboys fan who has seen never seen an NFC Championship, the hoops that the Cowboys fans and media are jumping through, it's like, all right, Brian Schottenheimer, he added a ping pong table to the locker room. He called his drink a shoddy, and Micah Parsons thought it was humorous. Like, we're wrong with that. He's wearing a backwards visor. Like, this dude's been on the team for 2 years. All right, like, he's not some new coach installing a new culture. He's literally already been in the building. So I just think that team, man, when you look at it, like, you're literally banking on George Pickens transforming the offense. I think Pickens is really talented. I'm not saying he couldn't work out, but that defense was 31st in scoring last year. That offensive line is not good anymore, and you're relying on a first rounder replacing a Hall of Famer in Zach Martin, who, I get it, wasn't playing at a Hall of Fame level last year, but I think Schottenheimer could be a unmitigated disaster. Maybe mitigated, who knows at this point. But
no, I could see it being as mitigated as it equally is unmitigated. So I'll give my Schottenheimer little stat here real quick for the trivia heads.
Oh yeah.
So 2005, U.S. is at war with Iraq. Brian Schottenheimer is calling plays for the Jets. 2015, U.S. is at war with ISIS. Brian Schottenheimer is calling play for the Rams. 2025, U.S. is at war with Iran. Brian Schottenheimer is calling plays for the Cowboys. All eyes, all in the Middle East, all Brian Schottenheimer calling plays. Not a lot of successful offense. I'm with you, man. I think this was probably the least inspiring head coaching decision I've seen in a long time.
Hey, that's just good old correlation, always meaning causation right there, man. So I appreciate that poll. Who's going to be the first coach fired? So I'm looking through them right now. Brian Dable's got to be up there.
So we got to start with who's on the hot seat, right? So Daboll, Mike McDaniel, I'd say, is on the hot seat. I think even Brian Callahan in Tennessee You know,
I
and
think
these are-
Callahan gets a year with Ward.
Well, I think so as well, but just the way that these teams operate, I'm always just a little nervous about, like, you know,
Just the Titans could do it. Yeah, I hear you.
yeah. Could Zach Taylor get fired if the Bengals start 2-7, 2-5? You know, I'm just saying, like, guys who are, you know, like, turn the page coaches as opposed to maybe their result, as opposed to maybe their track record.
It's like the teams that they're not expected to be Super Bowl contenders, but they're expected to put a decent performance. I'd say Dave Canales with the Panthers, if they just come out 0-5 and Bryce Young is regressing, like that could be really bad. Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals, year 3.
Yeah, that's a great one.
They're like 1-5 or something again. Like the defense all of a sudden is improving. Like, what does that do here? Shane Steichen, sneaky one. He's got a tough hand, but maybe that adds to it. I would say the sneaky ones are Shane Steichen and Kevin Stefanski.
Shane Steichen, such a great one because it's the most likely to be bad.
Right. I would say if I had to guess, I go Brian Dable just because that Giants schedule is atrocious. And like the fact he's even back this year, man, it's just such a tough hand.
Yeah, talk about running everything back except for the quarterback. That's an all-time funny one. Here's kind of a sneaky one that I think I wondered. They're scheduled. Their first. You brought up the early season schedule. This is a team that plays in the first 7 games: the Buccaneers, the Vikings, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Bills, the 49ers. So that's their first. 6 games. The Atlanta Falcons. Raheem Morris team starts 1-5, maybe. Is there a little Michael Penix isn't moving forward like we want him to? Kyle Pitts is once again a non-factor. I don't know. I just wonder about.
I mean, clearly the management to do that switch from Cousins to Penix, like I wouldn't call the front office exactly stable at this point in time. So that could be it. Dude, the Giants schedule though, again, Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, that's likely 0-4. If they lose,
it's funnier when you hear it out loud than when you read it on screen.
And then they have to go into New Orleans. If they somehow find a way to lose that game, which New Orleans crowd, you know, they get rowdy down there in the Superdome. Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, 49ers, Bears, Packers, Lions, and then we get to the Patriots in week 13. So this was hilarious. Joel Klatt, I like his podcast. I think he's actually pretty awesome. College football.
Here comes the Big Ten guys, so sticking up for each other. I get it. I know how it goes.
We hate Big Noon in Columbus because they put all the fucking Buckeye games on at noon. And they go, oh, look at the ratings. Yeah, no shit. You got the Buckeyes on. You can put them anytime. But yeah, Ohio State, Texas at noon. Sweet. Wouldn't have been a cool night game or anything. But anyway, Joel Klatt was talking about like the most consequential games for coaches. And for Bill Belichick, he was saying it would be week 13 for the Giants when they face the Patriots and they have a bye the next week. So Brian Dable could actively get fired in week 13 at like probably the latest. And then Belichick all of a sudden leaves North Carolina and takes the Giants job, which that would be the one job that probably bring him back, I think. I mean, you know, maybe something else, but if the Raiders weren't going to get him with Brady, man, Giants got the nostalgia. If he's even still interested in that. So.
Well, it all comes down to Jordan Hudson and what she thinks is best for the brand, best for the programming here. I love all that. Dayball definitely for sure is like, you know, everything you just said. I don't even have to.
There's got to be odds on this right now, right?
Oh, the odds are good. The best odds are Brian Dayball. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And then you name the other guys, Steichen, Schottenheimer. They're all potentially up there.
I see Zach Taylor up there too. That was a good call by you, my friend.
Yeah. Felt right. It's just like coaches with maybe too much pressure on them. You know, if it's not AFC Championship game, I think honestly they probably let him go unless they're just that good. We've got
Dwayne loves to hate him, man. What does he do? What is it that Zach Taylor does? You know,
it makes a mean cup of coffee. What do you even do here, Bob, other than interrupt people's conversations? All right. So Giovanni wants to know, this is a 1-2. He said, I don't see any Nancy Pelosi stickers on the wall. And the reason he's asking that is because I tweeted out during the NFL draft that if Jalen Milroe goes before Shedeur Sanders, I will get a Nancy Pelosi fathead. So I don't have one behind me, but I do have this question from Gizmo Reaper. He wants to know, do you guys see the Seahawks have any packages for Milroe this year? Maybe one around the goal line. I mean, potentially, but you got Kenneth Walker, who's a dog. You got Zach Charbonnet, who's a dog. Aren't you drafting Milroe so that he can play quarterback and not just come in for these like Cam Newton or these Taysom Hill packages?
Don't dodge the question. When are we getting the Nancy Pelosi fathead?
Okay, guys, I promise you by the next time I do a podcast with this background, I'll have one. Damn, you were sitting on that one. I should have seen it
Fair
coming.
enough. I don't really think Moreau's going to get that package. Hey, you got a real backup in Seattle right now, guys. Drew Lock is QB2 in Seattle. I don't want to hear anything
Sorry,
about
guys.
Jalen Milroe. Now, I kind of doubt it. I will say though, man, like Darnold, is there a less intimidating depth chart to potentially climb if you're a rookie quarterback than Sam Darnold and Drew Lock? I mean, you got to be feeling pretty all right about this with Jalen Milroe. Mike McDonald, too, coming from the Ravens. Like, Milroe could be his poor man's Lamar Jackson. So that could be a lot of fun, man. I was watching a Marquez Valdes-Scantling film before this, Chuck. So that's where my
that's why I was going to ask you how many blue moons deep you had to be to go watch MVS film, but I don't know if like you said, causation, correlation, or what.
Isn't it funny how Clint Kubiak has these? All right, man, the Saints blow out the Panthers and the Cowboys. Literally 31st and 32nd scoring defense last year. Proceeds to put forward one of the worst offenses in the NFL, weeks 3 through 18. Everyone's like, the injuries. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know they were a lot of injuries there, but like just the complete pass that this dude is getting. Now he's going to Seattle with an offensive line that they finally added, like a first round tackle to, but previously had just completely ignored it for the better part of the last decade. Oh, what's the one thing that can really mess up Sam Darnold? It's pressure in his face. Oh, well, that seems like a pretty much likelihood. All right, who we bring in? Completely washed Cooper Kupp and unironically Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And we're supposed to believe in this team. But that's my way of saying, man, Kenneth Walker could be ready to go off the show.
There we go. I like that. You know what? Find the bright side after dumping on the entire city of Seattle for just a little bit. And you know what? Deservedly so. I have to ask you, is NVS tape the most volatile of film you could possibly watch on a player? Because I feel like it's either like the biggest joke of a highlight where he does nothing, or it's a 60-yard burner touchdown. Like, is there any in between? Is he running digs? Is he running out routes?
It's just all, it's that DK Metcalf special, deep slant curl. Yeah, that's all we're doing. Pull up the Matt Harmon route percentage chart. It's going to be all red except for 3 greens gone there. But no, he actually was good in this 8-game stretch with the Saints, which is the most MVS thing ever because he didn't do shit basically with Rodgers, Mahomes, or Josh Allen. But God forbid we get Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler under center, and all of a sudden MVS has something to say. So I actually think, again, following Kubiak here, like he'll catch a few. He'll catch 3 to 4 deep balls from Sam Darnold. And he'll probably have like 400 yards this year. But dude, the funniest MVS moment ever was Rodgers. I think it was like the first play of a second half game. Throws a bomb. MVS just drops. It was a beautiful throw. Didn't even have it. And they show MVS getting up, and they cut back to Rodgers. I counted. It was 10 seconds after the drop. And Rodgers just standing there, still staring out 60 yards downfield.
That's the summation of MVS's career. Still staring, still wondering, still trying to figure out how. Is he the first guy ever, or at least that we can remember, to be second year in a system, but first year on a new team?
Right.
I would love to know what the research says on that. Clint Kubiak following him over. All right, Ian.
He said, I'll come here on one condition. I need my guy.
Yeah. I need one. There's one guy. There's one guy that I need. And if I'm passing, if not. All right. I've got one here. Let's get us out on. We've got actually got 3 or 4 here. So maybe I'll just choose.
Let's go rapid. We'll go rapid.
Rapid fire. Okay. I love it. End zone faded. Justin Fields, QB1, or are we living on hopium?
QB1, he's always been one in Fantasyland. When he has started, I know he can't throw the ball. It doesn't matter with the way our scoring works.
Bingo. Love it. Stroud Mama got offered Rome Odunze and Chase Brown for Trevion Henderson and a 2026. Thought?
I think it's actually a rare, pretty fair trade. I think I prefer Rome and Chase, but I bet if you put it in a keep, trade, cut, whatever, I bet it's pretty close, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with the rare for myself personally. Trevion, I think for me, trumps Odunze and Brown with that 2026 second. I think that he's just –
If you're feeling really good about it being early second, then I'll give it to you. But, man, like, you know how it goes. If it's 211, like, what am I even getting at this point?
That's borderline nothing. Chiefs burned me last year at Chiefs burned me last year, but ADPs are spicy for 2020-25. Yay or nay? You got any Chiefs you like this year?
Got a lot of Pacheco. I just think where
Yeah.
he goes right now, he's going next to like guys like Jalen Warren and stuff who he goes with the backs who like we're pretty sure are gonna be in a committee. Pacheco can catch 50 plus balls, man. And the stuff that the Chiefs do with their running backs, I don't think he's particularly good. But when all they did was re-sign Kareem Hunt, add another 7th rounder, Brashard Smith.
Yeah.
A lot of Pacheco and the wide receiver darts, man. Like, I don't think Mahomes is suddenly bad. We had the 3 wide receivers and 2 of them were hurt for the entire season. So I continue to buy them. I will say I went really hard in the paint for Mahomes last year, and drafts clearly didn't work out, and I've shot away from it. Maybe it's maybe I'm just scared. Maybe I'm just scared, Chuck. Maybe that's what
I think if there's one guy you can count on to bounce back, you're making a pretty good bet, and you bet on him. And you bring up a good point, right? Kareem Hunt, 7th round pick. They were piecemealing together Samaje Perine, Carson Steele last year, and they still managed to have the 10th best rushing attack by EPA, which means that they were getting below average play out of probably bottom of the barrel players, which is like the gap there is pretty significant. So
the discussion on Kareem Hunt, dude, is so funny because people are like, "Oh, look at his success rate," or no, they shit on him. But then sometimes it'll be like, yo, his success rate is actually pretty good. He's good in goal to go situations. He has the same numbers as Kyron Williams. Okay. Pull him up. Kyron Williams, Kareem Hunt, the same guy, but Kyron Williams is this great running back because he gets, 350 touches. Just saying.
Man, when you put that, you know what? That is legitimately like thought process, psychologically shifting the way I think I'm going to think about both of these guys. The fact that you just make that comparison, that might be a foundational change in who I am and how I approach fantasy. All right, let's bang out 1 or 2 more here. I get CMC. They get a 2027 first and a 2026 second. Who wins? So is it done? Is McCaffrey done, or is this a good package for him?
I think you got potentially 2-3 years left. I'll say this: if you're looking at your roster and you're like, I'm ready to compete for a championship, I need an RB1. Go try to win, man. All this, go try to win a title. Finishing 3rd to 5th, 5 years isn't cool. Like, if you think you can go get a title, go get it. Is it probably too much? Yes, but I get it if your team's ready.
Yeah, I think that he's probably worth more than that if you're trading him away. But if you can get him for something like that, abso-fucking-lutely, acquire him and probably acquire him ASAP. Because 49ers, another team who everybody thinks they had the year from hell last year, and they were still like a top 10, top 12 EPA per play offense and passing and rushing. So you slide CMC back into the mix and finally get rid of that.
If your dynasty team sucks, like, that's probably not a great trade, but like, you're ready to go. You think, like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, don't just have him and like Marvin Harrison Jr. and nothing else. Yeah. All right, last one for the win, an Ian Hartitz special. Who's the next CPAT?
Oh man, well, the comp has been Savion Williams, the new Packers 3rd rounder. I think Dane Brugler gave it to him. Swiss Army knife out of TCU. We got Laviska Shenault still hanging around in Buffalo. He's currently doing his. Why? Because we need the wide receiver to RB transition. Look, we're talking about the GOAT returner of all time. So like, no one's going to do that. But the other hilarious one, I'm trying to remember what team he's on. I think it's the Saints. Velus Jones, Chuck, is now listed. Listed as a running back, and he is on the Saints. So I'm just saying, Velus Jones would be hilarious. He's 28.
So I love the idea of like the next generation not being able to capture it. So it's like wrestling where these guys who never won the belt but finally get to win the belt in like their 10th year, they finally are given like the push up. They get to take over the Debo role. I love that. If it's Velus Jones, man, I'm going to be a happy guy.
Man, I always thought Curtis Samuel was just due for one of these massive years. And he had the 1 year at Teddy where he was like wide receiver 24, like barely got in there, had over 1,000 total yards. That was cool. But I just always thought Curtis could really put it together. So those would be my 3. The MVS's drops. Dude, he's had a ton of drops. I know.
Every drop is a haunting MVS drop, unfortunately.
Look at this. Oh, Chiefs fan. What, you're haunted by the drops in the year you won a Super Bowl? I'm so sorry. Haunted.
In winning efforts, too. How funny is that? All right. Last one for real. We can make this a bang bang because Johnny was kind enough to tune in at the end of the stream here. He's got Dak and Caleb. He got offered Tua for Shador.
Yes,
I'm just not. You'd smash that?
Yeah, I'll take Tua over Shador. Is Shador going to make the Browns roster?
You know what, guys? This is what happens after an hour and 15 minutes of drinking what I'm drinking is that I read trade offers backwards.
I think I'm
yes.
right.
Yes, okay. I'm smashing that app. I'm smashing that absolutely. Take your Tua, get rid of your Shador. Shador got busted for going 101 today. We all saw the jokes. We don't need to rehash them here, but
also kudos to you, Chuck. That was hilarious. 101. But Shador's not. It's not like you're trading away someone who could potentially like break fantasy and be this dual threat alien. It's not like you're trading away Anthony Richardson, where like if you are wrong, he could be awesome. Maybe bad example because it seems like it's going bad, but like Shador's
the quintessential example.
Yeah, but like Shador's best case is probably kind of like what Tua's done. I feel like, and Shador could be even if he's great. That's my point. Like it's not going to be that great in fantasy, so I'd say go for it.
Yeah. I mean, Tua led the league in passing 2 years ago, which I think 20 years from now will be that stat that makes people like go into cardiac arrest at bar trivia.
Dude, he's only missed, he's missed 10 games, I think, in the last 3 years. So I know it seems like more because we get the fencing stuff going on. Like it looks horrible. Like some guys get the flu and they miss a game. Tua, looks a lot worse than the flu.
It's that one kid in class who you're like, he has what? Okay, I get why he's missing. I hope he's doing okay. Tell his sister I said hello. All right, Ian.
Let's end on that.
That's a very, very well done hour and 15 minutes. So I want to thank you for coming on, having a good time. Appreciate the after hours drinks. I'll go ahead and shout out where the good people can find you, what you're working on right now, and what's coming up.
Fantasy Life show, Fantasy Life newsletter, Twitter, cool too. But no, you're the man, Chuck. I love chopping it up with you, man, every few months. Looking forward to doing it again. Next time, though, Chuck and I may or may not both be standing. Just saying. Could happen.
We're not kissing, though, but we will be
not
standing.
Kissing.
That would be a promise. All right. For those of you who are tuning in just now, you have to do some research if you want to know why that's funny. All right. This is another fantasy show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the questions, guys. Have a great time out there. Cheers. Enjoy your beers. See ya.